Good afternoon, YouTube. YTPC, how are you all doing? What a contrast. Last 2 days we were freezing with that snow, and today on my balcony it's almost 15 degrees now. The last thrashing and threshing of winter versus spring. Spring is winning. So I decided to start my adventure into English blends. Redcoat's return and renaissance, as I now am, were mostly and probably still are aromatic pipe smokers. Dabbled in English blends here and there, and I've decided to systematically have a go at them. So I've assembled these 5, which have a certain difference. Now some of you, maybe the new people, might say, what is an English blend? The loose description is something with latakia in it, to give it that smoky background taste. Virginia and latakia, in a very simplistic definition. Now, many English blends have also some Oriental, Turkish tobacco in it. It becomes a bit more classic English blend in that way. And quite a few have a little bit of casing and topping on it, where you would say, oh, but that's aromatic, but it's very subtly done, and some call it a crossover, crossing over from English to aromatic. Sometimes I've heard it called an American blend, which means, you know, there's a bit of flavouring, but the sort of just accepting basically anything I bring in this series will have Virginia and latakia, and may have Oriental, more or less, and it may have a little bit of topping. So being English blends, I'm using my Ben Wade St George's Day pipe, which is one of my non-filtered pipes. So I put some crystals in the bowl. Beautiful pipe from Ben Wade. I have been smoking it only on St George's Day, which is in May, which I will do, but thought it fits here as well. So as you know, I've been having a go at good old Dunhill's early morning pipe. I'll start off with that one because it's a nice pivot point, a nice classic reference tobacco. Just getting it down a notch. So I've had this about 4 years. It's had a mild amount of aging, and as I've commented before, the new Peterson version is identical because it's made by STG, just like this was. So anything I say about the good old Dunhill should be applicable, at least, 2, the Peterson version out there. There's also a match done by Sutliff. I haven't tried that one. A stretch for Sutliff, I think, to do it, because there's no topping on it, but you know, it might be very good. I've tried their Old Professor, that's really good. Anyway, so what I picked was the Maltese Falcon, a couple of Boswells, the Countryside, which is really a classic English blend. Then I've got Boswell's Northwoods, just make sure there's the right way up, which has got a little bit of delicate topping on it, so that's one of those variations. And then I've got some of this beautiful Dragoon Sons Limited, and I had to get it because it's just so English with the name Trafalgar, which I'm very curious to try this one. Maybe that's my next one, I don't know, we'll see. So Walter Raleigh has the service today. There's a Tampa, another great Englishman. Was actually mentioned as one of, I think one person said this was his favourite celebrity pipe smoker. Fitz, he invented the whole thing, you know. Well, actually, no, the North American Indians invented it, and it goes back further, doesn't it, to China and all kinds of countries who long, long ago were smoking something. But let's say tobacco, for bringing it into Europe, who's the man? If you ever go to the Tower of London, there's a quite interesting story, of course, about how he was interned there, later on beheaded, after all he'd done, you know. And he was even instructor to the king's son. The king actually liked him, but felt forced in the end. You know, the church had tremendous power then, and also there was a lot of politics going on. But tragic end for the great man, I think. So, early morning pipe. Well, there are 1,000 reviews out there, aren't there? You know, so I just take it as my sort of reference blend, you know, what I measure all others against. And you've seen many times this beautiful ribbon cut and perfectly balanced mixture, and you see the darker Latakia there, which is not that much, so you know that's probably not going to be forward, in other words dominating. And then when you take it to the nose, you know the Oriental is a bit more forward. They're both not too heavily blended into this, so it's not also a massive Oriental. So the dominant one is of those leaves is the Virginia, the red Virginia, which makes its presence felt, but the others are in there enough that you can't miss them, you know. And it's very pleasant, it's very sort of comely, very welcoming, you know, familiar, friendly. That's the whole character of this, which is why it stood the test of time. And so many people love it, you know. Got a 3.1 on tobacco reviews. So I'll go through my normal list and attach that to this review. The tin, or tin nose in this case, pleasant light, a bit more Oriental, and Latakia probably furthest in the background in the nose. The smoke note, I asked my wife a couple of days ago, and she says, well, you know, it's tobacco-y, a little bit like cigarette-y. Yeah, there's a bit of campfire, tiny bit, you know, comes and goes. Okay, tolerable, you know, it's not something that ladies or non-smokers would say, oh, that's nice, you know. The moisture was perfect when I opened it. I have put a Hydrostone in it because I've been opening it and close it and opened it and close it, so I put a Hydrostone in it just to bring it back up to optimal humidity. Me personally, I know, and all of this video is my opinion, my humble opinion. You can, you know, there's no right and wrong in this business. Some person can say they hate it for these reasons, and another person can, I love it for these reasons. They even say, I love it for the same reasons you hate it, you know. So it's all okay, but I find a little bit of moisture in most tobaccos helps because it mobilizes. There's a thing called steam distillation in chemistry, and if you want to do a mild distillation of a sensitive substance, you blow through steam, and the steam droplets in the steam carry the volatile, low molecular weight, aromatic or flavorful components, and you can often from a black tar get a beautiful white distilled liquid. Sometimes they dissolve in the water and you have to extract them with a solvent, and sometimes they'll just crystallize out. So a little bit of moisture helps that, in my opinion. You don't want it too wet, of course, because then you're getting your own steam and that will increase the bite. So there are tobaccos, I think, yeah, you are better to smoke them drier, and there's tobaccos a little bit more moisture can help. And that 80% relative humidity with my hygrometer is a kind of just you know, with the thumb to say roughly about there, but it could be a bit lower or a bit higher depending on the tobacco you're smoking and your own personal preferences. But if you buy a tin, also from Peterson now, I'm sure you won't have to do much adjustment. You smoke it right out of the tin. Nice ribbon cut. Leaf we've been discussing. It's Cyprian Latakia. That's the most in the background. Not far in front of it is the Oriental, so it is a bit more Oriental forward. And there's a kind of woody and a kiss of spice coming from that. Turkish Oriental. And then the Virginia, and it's red Virginia. That was good for me because I like a bit of red Virginia, and there's a nice tang there and sweetness, and that's, if you like, in the center of what it's offering you, with then the Oriental you know, influencing it, and more or less you get that in every puff, a bit of that, and sort of a bit more than a kiss of Latakia, but that's very subtle, the Latakia, but you can't miss it, you can't miss it. No topping, of course. The taste, it's smooth. It's not totally smooth, it's like 90% smooth and easy. It's definitely the woody Oriental there, and the tang of the Virginia, as I said, and you know, just roaming around the outskirts is a bit of Latakia. It's very pleasant. Very balanced and very moderate amount of sweetness, you know, just enough to make it good for me, because I like a bit of sweetness there. I couldn't take only a savoury, harsh tobacco with no sweetness at all to offer. It's pretty easy to pack. Feel the moisture when you take it out, that it's absolutely perfect. I would almost say mild nicotine, because I've smoked 2 or 3 bowls sometimes in one Zoom session, and I didn't really feel much. You feel it a bit, but most people say mild to medium, but absolutely not that heavy in nick, if that's what you're after, or if that's what you want to avoid. I don't like it beyond the medium point, as you all know. To light it, the only thing I'd say is that you char it. Tampering is important, because and that's probably just generally for ribbon cut, they shrink, and then if you don't tamper them, the embers won't contact the new tobacco, and sometimes if it's going to go out, it's because maybe you need to tamper it a little bit more often. If you do that, it's easy. It's no more relights than normal. About bite, practically none. Practically 95%. You'd have to do something wrong to get bitten by this. Which can happen, let's face it. You can, if you like me, maybe had a heavy session in a Zoom and your tongue is sort of saying give me a rest, and then you go to this and smoke it too fast, you can get re-bit. So there's Virginia in it, there's a possibility, but you'd have to do things pretty wrong to get bitten by this. This is, you just smoke it casually, normally. I usually aim for 45 minutes if I can for a bowl on average. Sometimes longer. Some of my flakes will go well over an hour, and avoid sort of less than that, because then it's usually I feel it in the bowl. But it's like that I've tried Squadron Leader, Sam Galworth's Skiff, maybe. Haven't tried those, only samples, that I was curious about. I've got a couple of tins in the cellar of Squadron Leader, so I'll review that at some point. Maybe it will be series 2 of the English blends, we'll see. But the first time I smoked it, I thought, it's a bit similar. I haven't tried Nightcap yet, but somebody said this is like Nightcap when it was a small boy, Nightcap is like, the kid grown up on a motorbike with a headband and, full of muscle and full power, and the early morning pipe is like the sweet little 5-year-old boy that he started out as. The identity, of course, as I call it, when you smoke this, it's a perfect morning pipe, You're at your most sensitive in the morning, at least I find, so you can take this mild tobacco and you'll get every nuance of it, even the nick. You'll feel everything. And the only other thing is, sometimes I would reach for this when I'm recovering from too much pipe smoking, and maybe I've had a day off and I think, now I really would like to have a smoke. And this is one I could reach for as the gentle start again, Be kind to my tongue, I would say, is another way that I could describe that. drink with it, I think it's tea or coffee. I've got iced tea here. Well, I give it about 3.0, you know, about the same score. It's not something that would wow, I think, many pipe smokers, but you would still like it and go back to it and enjoy it. And it's one of those really staple, wholesome, you know, great tobaccos that I would almost say, if you've got a bit of a collection, you'd put now the Peterson one in there and just have a tin for those occasions when you think, right, you know, I got up early this morning, I'll just have a pipe, you know, just need a gentle one. This is it. Other YouTube reviews are tons of them, so I'll just mention a few, and the few that came up when I did the search. Apologies to anyone else who's done one. It's always good, I think, to see what other people think about it and say about it before you buy, you know, a tin or two, if you've got the time to do it. So, Stuff and Things. He actually did one 10 months ago of the Peterson one and 5 years ago of the Dunhill one, and to the best of my recollection, he said they are identical. They were made by the same factory, and there's no reason, and same recipe, and there's no reason for them to be any different, and they're not. Which is great news, because several of those Peterson Dunhill blends are much more available, and they didn't disappear like, let's say, McClelland. All those recipes went, you know. Mutton Chop did one 3 years ago. Earl of Pipes did one. My good friend from Mein Deutscher Freunden, my friends in Germany, 3 Thedwood did one 9 years ago. Did a review. And Michael Chassaport did one where he compared to Well Hour, early morning, the one which is now my ashtray, morning pipe, Well Hour, to the EMP. I've had the Well Hour as well, and they're pretty close, and I think he did a very good review, and you know, there's subtle differences, but it's pretty close, and both are good, you know, really good. As a reference point, if you've got a favourite you want me to do for the next one, let me know. I'm open to all of those. The only one I've had before and smoked some of before is the Northwood. So about a year and a half ago I went through a tin of that. So I know a little bit what to expect there, but the other ones, these and the Trafalgar, haven't tried it. I'll call it a day, not to make this too long, and in a couple of days we'll make the next English blend review. Hope you enjoyed it. You take care, everyone out there. Look after yourselves. Cheers and have a good day. Bye bye.